it, fam. Let's get to it. I'm generally not a doom and gloom person. Even as a Christian, I'm not one of those people who's getting ready to always declare, Jesus is coming back. The signs is lining up. Man, Jesus is coming back. If you ask me my personal opinion, Jesus ain't coming back no time soon. I believe personally, God gave man dominion over the earth, and it's our responsibility to get this crap, it's our responsibility to get this thing back in order because that's the dominion that God. In fact, the word says that the earth is groaning for the return of the sons of men. But one of the things that I find fascinating, and it's almost so disheartening, is how much we, as a humanity, how much we've actually given up. And I'm not saying given up as far as things we've lost. I'm talking about our willingness to even want to live. We have become so selfish and we have gotten such freedom. Make no mistake about it. I don't care who you are and where you live, especially in the United States. You are free. Now, freedom comes with the responsibility of the choices that you make and the responsibility that comes with those choices, which is why everybody finds it easier to blame other people for the outcome. But the choice to make a decision today is yours and yours alone. See, I understand, and we want to pull the totality of America together and then say that because in the totality of America, black people haven't had this right and women haven't had this right and this group has been marginalized and this group is being. But today, you have every choice and every freedom to make whatever decision you want to make. It's your responsibility, though, to live up to that decision. So I was watching the podcast earlier and he was talking to this couple and the woman was like, the government's not doing enough for me. The system is broken. And he said, wait a minute. Didn't you say you got a degree? She was like, yeah, I got an associate degree. And what's your degree in? My degree is in blah, blah, blah. How was the system broken? What stopped you from pursuing a bachelor's degree? What stopped you from pursuing a career in something that was going to be more financially profitable for you? What is it about the system that kept you personally from being able to do anything that you wanted to do? And you saw this blank look come over her face because it is so much easier to blame everything else about why it's so difficult. Listen, I'm not getting ready to sit here and tell you anything other than the choice of life itself, simply living every single day. In some instances, is a difficult choice and a difficult decision to make. But it's your decision. You are the one who has to make the choices to live how and to choose how you're going to live this life and to do everything you can personally to see to it that you are achieving and striving to live and achieve everything that you set out to achieve. And if you don't, that's not the system's fault. That's not the world's fault. That's not other people's fault. That's your fault. We live in such a blame culture. Oh my God, if I don't get this and this don't happen the way it happens for me. But nobody says that when they're out kicking it and partying. Nobody's blaming the system when you're at the club getting turned up. Nobody's blaming the system when you're having sex with somebody unprotected and then you wound up pregnant. Nobody's blaming the system when women get to just kick it and go to clubs and get free drinks by men and do all this other. Nobody's blaming the system. Nobody's blaming the system when you out in the streets, running the streets, getting your money and acting like this. Nobody's blaming the system. It's only when consequences of your choices and the consequences of your actions come in play that now all of a sudden it's the system's fault. No, it's the system. If the system was better, I would be. And I understand this. That's the reason why so many young people are starting to turn to wanting to be a communistic and a socialistic society. Because in those systems, the government does everything for you. But be careful what you asking for. See, I'm reminded in the scripture where everybody kept going to God and saying, give us a king, give us a king. And God sent the prophet and said, hold on, be careful what you asking for. I don't think you quite understand the consequences of the choices that you asking for. You asking for a king, but what you asking for is a person to have total power over your life. Are you sure that's what you want? Yes, that's what we want. Give us a king. The king wasn't even sworn in good before everybody was like, oh my God, this king is horrible. He's taking our children. He's taking the best of everything. He's taxing the crap out of us. Oh my God, this is horrible. God, why did you let this happen? You asked for a king. If you give up the power to choose for yourself this life and to choose for yourself the direction your life can go in, and you put it squarely in the hands of somebody else, then you are at the mercy of what that person does to you. If all of these other governments is so wonderful and so spectacular and so amazing, and this is what we should all be striving for, why are all their citizens trying to get to the United States? Now, this isn't some rant about how great I think the United States is, but what I am simply saying is we are imperfect people judging a system that was created by imperfect people, but we're holding it and everybody else to a standard of perfection. But then when it comes to me, no, don't judge me by perfection. I'm a flawed person. I got things. It's not hasn't worked. You don't know what I've gone through and you don't know what my life was like, and you don't know where I come from. You don't know nothing about me, but you have the ability to judge everything else to a standard of perfection. See, I'm convinced that the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was actually the tree of accountability. I think the tree was actually the tree of account. This isn't biblical. Don't quote me on it. I don't want nobody to go start a new religion talking about Corey said that the tree wasn't the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It was accountability. I'm just simply saying, I simply think that the tree was the what you gained from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was accountability. And as soon as they put on accountability, they realized they wasn't built and prepared for the accountability they were asking for. That's why God said, if you trust me and do things the way that I set it up and do things the way I told you, I take accountability for everything that I do. But you want to be in control of your own life. And so now you have to be the one that is responsible for the choices that you make and how you make them. And you can't blame nobody but yourself. Funny how that happened. As soon as they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the first thing they did with their knowledge is blame everybody else for their circumstance. Blame everybody else for their choices. If you really want a better life and you really want your life to be better, nobody is stopping you from being able to do everything that you need to do to accomplish whatever it is you believe you can accomplish. The problem is we have gotten so addicted to things that don't matter, things that don't help our future. We have gotten so addicted to things that keep us stuck and locked in this place. And then when we realize how short and how ill prepared we are for the future, then we want to run to somebody, i.e. the government, and tell it to provide for us and do for us that which we find ourselves unwilling to do for ourselves. This world is going to fall apart, and it won't be because the world systems was jacked up. The world is going to fall apart because people have given up, and we have stopped taking accountability and responsibility for the choices that we make. We have stopped living where every decision I make is a decision that furthers me and my future, furthers my family, sees to it that our children and our children's children have a better starting point than what I had started with. See, the world ain't going to always be perfect, but what you're striving for is that your children have a better starting point than you do. And of that, America is far greater. The world is far greater than it's ever been in history. Ever. But with that comes a greater responsibility. You become more accountable to what you do with the choices and the decisions that you make. See, with freedom comes accountability for your choices. That's the reason why we want to give up our freedom, because we don't want to be held accountable for our choices. And in some regards, as a Christian, I find it appalling that every 5 seconds I'm listening to Christians always screaming, I can't wait till Jesus come back, because we have given up the responsibility and the accountability to God for seeing to it that we do everything we can to bring this world back into order. To love people in such a way that the love that we display for them, I'm not saying agreeing, you don't have to agree, but you can still be kind. It's hard living. Life itself is a difficult choice to make. It just absolutely is. But in the end, I live my life in such a way that all I want to hear from the Father when I'm done, when it's all over and done, is well done, my good and faithful servant. Not good and faithful because I did a whole bunch of stuff. Not good and faithful because I accomplished and my name was great. Not good and faithful for all of that. Good and faithful because I refused to let go of a willingness to believe that there is still greatness in humanity. And I lived believing it and held on to that with everything that I had. All right, y'all. That's my 2 cents on a 2-piece. Y'all be blessed.
Now you're allowed to.